parenting. You have 3 amazing kids, and it's been a pleasure just watching them grow, become individuals in their own right. But we as parents are battling because we have formulas, we have models, and these models don't take into account that these people are growing up in their world. They've got their own ideas and their own plans. Talk to us from a parent point of view. What are some of the humbling things you are learning about this journey of being a parent?
The most humbling thing I'm learning is how my own behavior is badly influencing my children, right? So I think we do the best we can, but we were raised in a different time and we have knee-jerk reactions to things. So I constantly am apologizing to our firstborn. And I'm saying, thank you for your grace and patience. You were our guinea pig. We knew no better. I'm so sorry. Yes. Because now we learned through you and now we could be better to the other two. But you had it the worst, you know? And seeing how he has grown up, he's an amazing human being. But I feel like at some point, how we reacted in certain situations just closed off a little bit of something he had, you know, or crafted a person that wasn't this person. He was in responding to our shaping, right? So the humbling thing for me is just allow and listening, right?
Can you emphasize
people have
this
so much more
again?
wisdom
I
than
tell
we
you,
do.
the listening piece is a huge, because parenting is also like leadership, isn't it? You have to get feedback. And
It's
sometimes the
hardest from your
feedback,
kids, eh?
sometimes the feedback is pretty brutal, pretty direct. But if we're not listening, how are we parenting?
That's the thing.
We're doing our thing instead of doing it with them.
Absolutely.
And I tell you, listening to my kids has been a journey. And I've become better. And then the older ones say, yeah, now you are more better for the younger ones.
Yes.
It's because they've trained me to be better.
You had to go through that, right?
Yes.
And they say every child gets a different parent.
Yes.
So that listening thing is the big thing for us. And for me, just being present is a constant thing that I remind myself of. You know, when a child approaches, put the phone down, sit, listen, you know, let them finish what they're saying, don't come with a solution. I feel extremely lucky that my mother went through parenting things that changed how she parented me, right?
Yeah.
So she felt extremely dictated to by her parents. And she felt like she had to trade off her own joy for what her parents expected. And her mantra when I was a young child is, my child, you be whatever you want to be as long as you're happy. I don't care what you do as long as you're happy. So for her, joy was the thing that was limited for her. So she's going to make sure that her child had it. And so I've always had that, and I've always led and parented my children and like, be you, be yourself.
Yeah.
But where I know the be yourself is compromised is how I react.
Yes. That first
in
reaction,
them being themselves.
That first reaction is everything.
Yes.
Because by the time you're trying to correct, they've taken what when you say
that information has landed.
She says or he says, I'm going to do this, and you react.
Yeah.
By the time you're like, no, actually, you've lost that piece.
Completely.
If we just think about the future of this country, hopeful, pessimistic, worried?
I'm a parent. I have no choice but to be hopeful. I had no choice to be hopeful because we have agency. I have agency. So what can I do to try and ensure that my children have a full, meaningful life beyond my years, right? And so you can't sit and say, oh, it's terrible, it is what it is, and then fold your arms. I'm accountable to people I was blessed enough to bring into this world. And then the world has challenges and I don't do anything about it. is problematic. So
Does that mean you're going to join a political party?
no, sir.
So there are other ways in which you can make a difference.
Absolutely.
Tell me more about that.
As if you
Because a
don't
lot
know.
of people
No.
actually think that the only way to solve this is belong to your party and standing for parliament and be a minister.
I've always struggled, and it's a dichotomy, right? So while I might talk a lot, the spotlight is not something that's comfortable, because I value one-on-one interaction more. So when it's like a group and you, it's difficult. So you can influence with every single person and human that you touch, right? So the people that report to me, that's what I am custodian of now. And that has a multiplier effect. Each one has children, each one is responsible for other people, and we touch each other, and they go on to be great leaders somewhere else, and it multiplies.
It's in the space you're in.
It's in where you
Make
at
the
right
biggest
now.
difference there.
You can't say, I'm going to wait until I have this platform. I don't think you get the platform
Yes. Until you choose something.
Yeah, so there's a lot of work to do. And for me, leadership starts with self. There's so many things when I look back, I was like, I was just uninformed. Very confident,
Yes. Yeah.
but uninformed. Maybe could have used a little bit more humility type of person. It comes with, experience. It comes with lessons. It comes with growing up and maturity. But yeah, that is much more valuable. And who wants to be doing that growing in the spotlight? You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's growth that we have to do internally in safe spaces. And I think we have a lot that we can do in this country. The leadership is in your household.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
In your street.
In your street.
In your church.
In your church.
Your school.
Everywhere. I mean, just making sure that your children are better off than you. And it doesn't have to be that you leave them an inheritance, but you leave them good habits, right? Don't be indebted. How do you manage the assets that you have? How do you take the opportunities given to you and make the most of them? That is one generation away. And then all of a sudden, life looks different for your family because of just that. Before you left your yard. Now, if you expand that to your church community or your friendship group, that's a whole thing.
A young girl is watching this. She comes from a village, comes from a township, finds herself in the private sector with all sorts of challenges, being silenced, being ignored, being undermined, sometimes humiliated. What would Dumi say to her that has made Dumi sail through those doors?
It's hard because not all environments are changeable. Let's be honest. We'd all like to say, stand up for yourself, have agency, etc. But there's, the dynamic of you need a sponsor in a work environment. You need somebody who's going to speak on your behalf when you're not in that room. And if you find yourself in a space where you don't have sponsorship, you don't have someone's got your back, you don't have mentorship. First question is there something I'm doing wrong to alienate myself from those opportunities? But second of all, I'm really, really so in admiration of the current generation that's entering the work environment.
Yes.
They don't have the notions that we did of, I have to stick it out. They know their worth.
Yeah.
They know their worth and they know their value. And if that table is not serving what they need, they walk.
Yeah.
That's also something that I think girls today must understand. You have value.
Yeah.
You have value, and every organization knows you have value. They might not want to acknowledge it.
Yes.
But they know you have value because in diversity comes strength. no organization will sustainably be socially relevant without making sure that they are inclusive in their practices. And so if you're sitting there and you feel like there's a fight that you can fight and you have the strength and resilience, do it, because you're changing the environment for the better for everybody else. If you're finding that is just falling on deaf ears, the antibodies are strong against you, maybe that's not where you should be.
Yeah.
And I've always had the philosophy of, one, there's a terrible epidemic in our country of something called blessers, right? So young women seem to think the easy way out is just to have some older man showering them and taking care of all their materialistic needs. But in that, what independence have you lost, right? So my message to young women is always unshackle yourself. Your preoccupation in the first decade of being an adult is to release yourself from everything that is holding you back.
Be independent.
Be independent. So if it's an education you need, that's what you have to fight tooth and nail to get. If you are in a financial situation that makes you dependent, solve it. There are many tools and people out there willing to help you out of that and coach you to a place of independence. And the independence is important because if I come around the table and I feel like our value system is not aligned, I will not compromise my values because I feel like I can't eat if I leave, right? I need to be able to be my own person. So anything holding you back from being your own person is what your preoccupation should be, because then you will show up as your best self and you will know where you belong, and it'll be obvious where you don't, and it's their loss, when you walk away. And there's a crisis of identity that people have where they identify themselves too much in the role that they occupy or the job title they have, so that their ego holds them back when they actually should make the right decision. You need to unshackle yourself from all of that. Sometimes it means self-work. Sometimes it means a process of systematically working through your debts. Sometimes it means taking on a new course that you might enable you in a different technical skill. But the point is, get yourself to a place of independence so that when you say I'm Itumeleng, I'm truly Itumeleng. I'm Itumeleng, I'm Masiaba. I'm not COO. I'm not director of this. I'm not board member of that. I am the identity that is me, that my father saw in his eyes when I was still a toddler. That is who you are, and all you have is your integrity. So when you compromise on your values, what's left? That's the critical thing. So to be able to say, this is who I am.
It's not for sale.
It's not for sale. And my aunts will say, umang, and you'll have to stand up and say, actually, I'm still that person that you raised. Kenna, Itumeleng, Masiaba, Kenna, Marumo seapara bagolo ba sa seapare, that's me. Not in relation to anything else.
Last question. Words or action? When people see us as leaders, what we role model, what we project out there, what has more power? Is it our words or is it our actions?
Oh, it's just our actions. But we have to also remember the power that lies in our words.
They can destroy.
Yes.
And they can only build.
And that's a lesson.
And every word you have to, with somebody, is either building
correct
or destroying.
And you also have to understand that you have to tailor your words. We all have different levels of sensitivity. That's a lesson I had to learn. Like you said, I come with that brutal fact. Yeah. With love as the intention, but perhaps the recipient is not used to that language.
Yes.
So they will take it as an aggression, not for what in the manner it was intended. So your words are extremely important. But if they don't get followed through with action, people just say, yeah, okay, it was just window dressing.
You're not leading, you're taking a straw.
No, you're just, I don't know, posturing.
To me, I think if your father was here, if your aunts, mums were here, they would be so proud of the person you've remained. Not the person you've become, the person you've remained, because I think those roots remain very deep. Yet, you have a global reach. That's a very unique thing that people have. And if you have that, you're grounded in who you are. And I want to say a huge thank you personally for the journey we've traveled professionally, seeing you grow and succeed, seeing you and Wilton, raise kids, and for you to do so well is just a great joy to watch. And thank you for being part of this podcast. And I hope the viewers can see more trailblazers on this podcast. Incredible people that are making a difference in our society. I hope you can learn from what you've heard from Itumeleng Monale. Thank you, Itumeleng.
Thank you so much, Lincoln. No, I need to have the last word. I need to thank you. The thing that might not have come out is we learn leadership from other leaders, good or bad, right? And those of us that try to do our best, we take the best from the great leaders that we had, and we take the lessons of the bad leaders that we had of what not to be and how not to do things. I genuinely can say, I think you were my first introduction to leadership with heart. And you groomed so many of us in that journey, and it's something that resonated. And I think many of us continue to try and embody that and demonstrate it in all facets of our life. So while you are sitting here and honoring some of us, honestly, the kudos goes to you. Thank you for everything that you've taught me personally. And that which you have highlighted and reflected through the mirror back to me, it is what helps us to grow. Leaders are not all nicey. Leaders also challenge you and make you a better person, and I appreciate that. So thank you for the opportunity.
And you, comrade.
Thank
We
you.
used to call each other comrades. We were fighting the battles to make a difference in our society. And thank you to me. And good night, everybody.